What's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, man. Mufasa Fashaw coming to you live with another episode of Alphacology. Been at it since 2019, coming up on my 6th year doing my podcast. And fellas, I thank you for grinding and growing with me. And as y'all can see, got my studio backdrop now. I'm gonna be looking a little bit more to go into, bringing some of my supporters onto the podcast. Some people that I really got something to say. We'll probably chop it up. We'll bring you on. All right. Shout out to Urban Studios for the productions, for the camera work. He's a real good one, man. He's a real good man. He know his stuff. And as long as we've been working together, man, he brings a lot to the table and helps me grind, helps me grow. And shout out to you, Urban Studios, man. Shout out to JD Irby. Now, I'm still battling. I'm not perfect. So, I'm still battling. I'm going to keep it real. I like to keep it transparent. And my biggest battle with alphacology is it means a lot to me. But at the same time, I've been on my grind. I've been, paying these bills, been working hard, keep food on the table and provide for my family. So in that case, in that scenario, it's 24 hours in a day. And by the time I get personal time, I have to unwind and do all that stuff. And then boom, as soon as I put my head right there on the pillow, I'm like, dang, I should have did an episode of Alphacology. I need to be more consistent. So my weakness, and I always call myself out, can you call yourself out to get better? That's the biggest thing a lot of us men face. We don't call ourselves out enough to get better. And I call myself out. I say, hey, man, I got to make sure I post 2-3 times a week. Okay, if I can't do it 1 time a week. And I'm trying to get there. I think I did a little bit better last month. I put up 2 videos for y'all. I put up a couple more videos, but it's still not enough. I feel like I'm not doing enough. And the funny thing is, I booked Urban Studios, right? And I was out doing my thing, got home, laying on the couch, and boom, I get a knock on the door. I'm like, who the hell? It's 2020, 2025. We like somebody knock on your door. You like, what the hell? I ain't have nobody call this. So I seen it was him, and I'm like, oh snap! I forgot that I had a podcast to do today. I totally forgot. I was prepared and everything. So that just goes to show me that I have to stay more focused on my grind. And I love doing what I do. This is a stress reliever as well, but it's also something that's important to you guys. And I remember you guys getting on my nerves because you like, where the content? And I'm like, yo, I'm a human being. I'm not a machine. I ain't got content every week. I don't got content every day. And y'all was getting kind of upset with me. So I do want to apologize. Maybe you guys were just trying to push me. I was being too lazy. So I'm going to get back on my grind, man. I promise you that. But like I said, this alphacology, this is not tea, it's protein. We ain't here to talk about people. We just share everything from an alpha perspective. And then when we got young men or women that are respectable, that I like to bring on my show, we usually have a good time and they share great perspectives as well. So going into my topic, and I always say this, it's differences in everything. And this one brought to me was brought up to me because I always, I work with kids. I coach sports, football, track, golf, you name it. I probably coached it. Volleyball, did it all. Your boy looked at it, and I noticed children with confidence, right? We like a child with confidence, but where does confidence come from? Confidence just don't come from, you don't just pull that out the air. And I thought about it. And I'm like, some children come in confident already. And sometimes, you're in a relationship with a woman, you say, man, this woman is confident, or she got high self-esteem and or delusional. We mistake high self-esteem for delusion sometimes. So I realized that, in my talking to this young man, I say, man, you want to be confident, you want to have self-esteem. And he asked me, oh, ain't that the same thing? And I was like, man, no, it's not the same. Then I sat there and thought about it. And I'm like, I can't tell him he needs confidence and self-esteem, but can't tell him where to get it from. So I had to, and he wasn't understanding me. So I actually took the time out to say, fellas, part of being the alpha male is being confident, but also having self-esteem. Now, there's a difference between confidence and self-esteem. And confidence is based off experience, basically. It's task based. You got a skill. Like I could be confident to, I could be confident to sit on a podcast and do a podcast, right? It's based off the skill. It's based off your abilities. Like I've done this before, so I'm confident. I can go outside and get in the car, and be confident. You understand? So, because I drove a car before and I drive good, or based off my experiences. So, we want to build our confidence. And how you build confidence is working on something, failing at it, doing it again, succeeding at it eventually. So, you want to work on your confidence. So, that's a big thing. That's a big thing um, in the growth of being a man, of being the most alpha male version of yourself. That's a big thing, is confidence. Now, confidence does not guarantee self-esteem, which begs to the question, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't really know, because you could have confidence and not have self-esteem. All right? I see it every day. We see it in the NBA, NFL. I have seen it with guys that got money. You know those guys that got money, but still lame as hell? Those guys exist because, yeah, they're confident, but they don't have any self-esteem. So I want you guys to think about it. Where is my weakness coming from? Which one do I need first? Which one do I need to work on first? And I'm going to tell you like this. Based off my experience, and I'm confidently saying this, you want to start with your self-esteem, all right? Self-esteem is not like confidence. Self-esteem is your self-worth, how you see yourself. Do you believe you're a good person? Do you believe, you have standards? What's going on? And, that comes from childhood. Because guess what? I've seen women who are very good at things and are very confident in certain situations, but they'll step over here and they're not confident anymore. They're timid, they're shy, they're quiet. I've seen men do the same thing. And that's when your self-esteem comes in, right? And what I've noticed is we don't run into a lot of guys who have, you might not see it a lot, but I run into a lot of guys who don't have self-esteem. That is a part of your alpha male foundation, your self-esteem. When I used to tell men, you are the prize, it's not just based off of something confidence, but it's based off your self-esteem. You got to believe that. You got to believe that you're the leader of the household. You got to believe that you could be a woman's everything. You got to believe that you could lead these young men or these young people somewhere where they never been. You got to already be inside of you. And I always believed that about me. When I stepped onto this platform, I'm like, maybe this is a bad idea, but no, I feel like I'm supposed to do this. And then that young man said what he said that gave me confidence to keep going. But my self-esteem was already there because I brought the mic. I downloaded the app. I started speaking from my heart, because the self-esteem is there. All right? You got to hold yourself in high moral value or high value. We always see these girls, right? We like to talk about girls on Africa. We like to talk about women. We love women. And I always get that inbox. Why she want to be a hoe? Why hoe? Why are hoes hoes? And I always tell them, hey man, it's a self-esteem thing. They need the validation. The more validation you seek from people, all right? The more validation you seek from people from the opposite sex, the less alpha male you are, right? The more validation you seek, period. If you're seeking validation, if you're seeking somebody to say, hey, good job, every time, if you're seeking for attention, that is a sign of low self-esteem. That's not a sign of low confidence. Cause I could come tell you right now, if we were supposed to do a 3-point shooting contest and you want me to make 90% of the free throws, the 3-point shots, I'm gonna confidently tell you, no, I can't do that. It's not because my self-esteem is low. It's because, hey, I haven't shot a basketball in months. I haven't been focused on basketball. So therefore, my self-esteem has nothing to do with it. Therefore, my confidence is low. Now, if I had low self-esteem and you challenged me to a basketball game to shoot, I might wildly go out there because guess what? My self-esteem is low. I'm looking for any kind of validation, any kind of excuse to get attention, anything. So you want to understand the two. So when you're dealing with a young lady in a relationship, when you're dealing with a female, you got to check her self-esteem levels. That's going to let you know if she's a green flag or a red flag. If that self-esteem is low, that self-worth is low, then boom, you know what you're dealing with. And when you get around people that have low self-esteem, baby, I'm going to tell you like this. It could drag you down because misery loves company. And I never met a person that had high self-esteem and was miserable. So the key to being a little bit happier in life is having higher self-esteem. And that doesn't always mean that you think you're better than everybody. But waking up every morning knowing it's certain things I'm not going to do because that's not in my character. I hold myself to a high moral value. If I walk out there and say, hey, I'm not going to steal anything. Not because I'm poor. I could be the poorest man in the world. I'm not going to steal anything. Why? Because my self-worth is here. That's my value. I value myself. I'm not a thief. I'm not a liar. I'm not a cheater. I'm not an addict. I'm not a simp. I'm not a beta male. Stuff like that. That is going to keep how you see yourself. That's going to keep you and protect you. Now, I do tell you this. Now, when you have extremely high self-worth and extremely high confidence at the same time, you're dealing with a ego. Maybe teeter-tatter on a little bit of narcissism too, right? But we're not going to get into that. I hate that N-word, okay? It's 2 N-words I hate on YouTube, and that's one of them, narcissism. Because we really ain't even break that down. So you want your self-esteem at a good level, at a balanced level, all right? So, but your self-esteem comes with the first step to self-esteem is accepting who you are. Personal values. Hey, I'm gonna accept who I am. I might never be 6'5". But I'm not gonna cut over my body. I'm not gonna alter my legs. I seen a guy, he literally made himself taller. He went through the surgery and everything. And I was laughing and I was just like, boy, this guy has low self-esteem. And one thing about low self-esteem, it only goes away when you make this decision for it to go away. Nothing you can do. You can make as much money you want. You can make, you could get taller. You could become the best basketball 3-point shooter ever. You could be the best. You could become famous. If that self-esteem still low, you're still vulnerable. You're still in a weak mind state. I could have a conversation with somebody for about 10 minutes and tell you if their self-esteem is low. I'm telling you, I've did it on podcasts. I talked to guys during my consultations. I'm like, yo, your self-esteem low. I want to build confidence, but the key to building confidence, real confidence, is self-esteem first. Because I could be confident in playing the game and still not be confident in the world. That's what it's all about. Can you walk in that boardroom and believe you could take it over, or believe you the baddest motherfucker in the land? I've walked in rooms and felt like I was the toughest person there. If push came to shove, I was gonna survive and be the toughest. I've walked into environments where I didn't know where I was doing, where I was going. You understand? So you want your self-esteem in the right place. So I always say this: confidence, self-esteem, humility. You still want to be humble. You don't want to be stupid. So it's people that are overly confident, then that comes from an ego standpoint too, but they're missing the humble part. And you miss out on a lot on life if you're not humble. If you're not easy to talk to, if you're hard to get along with. And so you have to balance all these things out. I think the key to life, especially now where we get stimulated by social media and social norms and political injustices, and everything is crazy. The best thing you could do is have a balance. You don't want to have too much of this. You don't want to have too much of that. You don't want to have too much to eat. You don't want to have too much to drink. You don't want to hit the gym too much. You don't want to read a book too much. You don't want to be on your phone too much, of course, but you don't want to be on your phone too little either, because you might miss something. Right? So you have to structure yourself to the point where you have a balance. So I want us, yes, to be confident, but I want us to grow in that self-esteem, because we could be confident in a lot of stuff. I'm very confident if I walk around here with a gun on my hip. I'm very confident, right? But if you take that gun off my hip, do I still have that confidence? I told one of my players that. I was like, look, you could take this gun and run around the streets and shoot at all the people you think are your ops. But guess what? When you get caught and go to jail, ain't no guns in jail. Can you fight? And he just looked at me like, fight? Exactly. So that confidence wasn't there. Now, if he had some self-esteem about himself, he'd be like, hey, I can fight, I still got it. Or if he actually was ready to fight, I can fight, I still got it. I can go to jail and fight my way out. Okay, who cares? That all goes back to self-esteem. Why are you even taking this route? Sometimes I had to actually tell myself I'm more powerful with my phone, with a pen in my hand. I'm more powerful in here than with a gun in my hand. You get what I'm saying? So the mind is a terrible thing to waste, and I don't want us to waste it. So that's how I want to do from now on Alphacology. I gauge when I talk to my supporters out there. I'm gonna gauge if you have the right self-esteem, and if you have low self-esteem, it's nothing wrong with that. Nothing right with that either, but it's nothing wrong. It's not it's not a good thing. It just is. But if you want to get better in life, you're gonna have to pick up your self-esteem, or all that confidence you built is fake. It's a facade. You got to believe you're him in any situation, because, hey, I know how to do this. Hey, I know how to do that. Hey, I know what kind of person. I know where my heart is. I give everything my all. So I try my best to hang around guys who give everything they all and be very intentional. Hang around women who are very intentional, give everything their all. That's what you guys got to do as well. That's going to keep your alpha energy up. That's going to make you the most alpha version of yourself, man. Hang around people like that with high self-esteem, high confidence, and you'll see a big difference. So, with that being said, this has been another episode of Alphacology, man. I just want to give a shout out to Irby Studios, man, for, lighting this thing up. We'll probably be getting back to what we've been doing. I got some cool guests coming, some brand new topics. And like I always say, this is not tea, it's protein. Peace out, baby.